Well, hello into people, I hope you're doing well. Now today's video is talking about the end of lockdown, talking about the changes that are going to come, the just general feeling of anxiety that I'm feeling at the moment because of lockdown ending, and actually if you have any thoughts on the end of lockdown, things opening back up again, let me know down below, because you know we are all going to interpret the things that are happening right now, things reopening in different ways. I know there'll be some people who are very happy about the fact that things are reopening again so they can go out, go to the pub, but there's also people like myself who are happy to see things reopen but are very reluctant to go out after such a long period of being stuck inside for all of this time. Now the first thing I want to talk about was my first proper trip out by myself since lockdown started. Basically every time I've gone out somewhere it's only been to the office because I work as an administrator and there's certain aspects of my job which I just can't do at home. However, I have come to realise that there is going to be a time where I'm going to have to get public transport again like I was before lockdown happened. So I took it upon myself to get public transport back to my house one day. So I was very apprehensive, and also because we're still in lockdown, there's obviously, you know, measures in place such as if you get on public transport in the UK you have to wear a mask, things like that. I was very apprehensive about it, but I put my mask on, I got on public transport, I managed to get home quite safely. However, I wanted to just talk about the anxiety that I felt in that first trip, because I've been putting it off for ages because I just feel like I could not cope with it. I did cope with it, but the problem was, firstly, the masks are just grotesque. Now, I know there'll be some people saying, Andy, if you're in the UK, you're exempt from wearing a mask because you're autistic. However, I've decided that I am not doing the exemption because I personally don't feel safe around other people, and this is what I was wanting to talk about because of this trip. I personally felt really anxious about it because I was waiting for the second bus, because I get two buses, you see. I was waiting for the second bus in this bus station. People were still coming very close to me. I felt really uncomfortable. I felt kind of like these rules in place, but people aren't actually sticking to the rules. So it made me incredibly uncomfortable. So pretty much I wore the mask through the entire thing. Now, if you're someone who is exempt from wearing a mask because you have a hidden disability or another condition which hinders you from wearing a mask, that's absolutely fine. I'm not having a go at people who can't wear masks for that reason. My concern is that you just don't know if it's because of an exemption or because people just don't care and, you know, think, oh, it's the end of lockdown, I'll just do whatever the heck I want. But the other reason why I'm anxious about lockdown ending is people's attitudes about the situation. But even though places are opening back up again, I am very reluctant to be going out to places if I don't need to. However, people's attitudes towards the situation have made me even more concerned about things going forward. I mean, for example, I was asked to go out to a thing a couple of weeks ago to meet up with some friends and stuff. I outright said no because, like I say, I feel very reluctant going outside if I don't have to, you know, and I don't need to. But I'm very concerned about people's attitudes because people have this mindset, some people anyway, have this mindset of, oh, lockdown's over, let's go party, let's go to the pub, let's go and watch Game of Thrones in cinemas. That's not a thing, by the way. People just want to go out and just start to live life again, but I'm really concerned that people aren't going to take the right precautions, such as wear a mask or, you know, sanitize, those kinds of things. The response from some people that I know was, what are you talking about? Why do you need precautions? You know, rates of infection are the lowest that they've ever been. And it just baffles me, to be honest, just the lack of concern for not only themselves but other people. I'm not saying that it's wrong to go out and see your friends, you know. I just think if you're not taking precautions, then you're kind of enabling the problem. I think if you're taking precautions, you're doing everything that you can to, you know, prevent spread and, you know, just doing your bit for yourself and other people, then that's totally fine. I'm not against it. But the next point I want to talk about with the end of lockdown is mental health. Everyone's mental health, to some capacity, it doesn't matter whether you're autistic or not, has been affected in some way by this lockdown. Maybe you're someone that's extroverted and you're really looking forward to the pubs open again. Even though it's the pub, you know, going out to places is good for people's mental health sometimes. Some people aren't like that, you know, we're all unique in our own ways. So, you know, totally cool. But for me, my mental health during lockdown has been, it's been up and down. Like, I liked lockdown because I was at home more. Beforehand, when everything was normal, I had much chance to do anything really, just because of travel to and forth and all of that sort of stuff. I was constantly busy, going out to places all of the time. But lockdowns really made me realise that, you know, I don't need to be rushing around everywhere. I don't need to be going out to places if I really don't need to, you know, and actually appreciate life a lot more. There's been negative sides to it as well. I mean, for me, I've felt more isolated in lockdown than before. My communication isn't as good. I know you might not think that, but off camera, it's a completely different story. I try to do my best to uphold some form of generalized communication, but the idea of lockdown ending and, you know, having to socialize again and having to be around people again, I'm so out of practice with it that I'm really not looking forward to it, and I feel like people are just going to judge me because I'm not able to keep up with, you know, the weather or what Bob did last week. So yeah, generally when it comes to socializing stuff, it's just completely and utterly gone downhill. It's going to take forever for me to get back to that place of I was able to go to work, I was able to somehow get through life and get through small talk conversations with people that I don't really care about, and just, I don't know, be an active member of society, yeah? Bro? Yeah? But now I wanted to talk about some advice regarding the end of lockdown. Now, it sounds like I've not really been coping with lockdown and I'm really struggling with the idea of the end of lockdown happening. This is true. However, these are things that I'm going to implement myself, which I think are incredibly helpful, and I'm hoping they will help you. So really the first bit of advice for people struggling with the end of lockdown is taking the time to prepare. Now, like I say, I'm very reluctant to go out to places and restart my life, as it were, but that's perfectly fine. You know, I think the thing is, with people's attitudes towards the whole end of lockdown situation, you don't have to follow those people. Take things at your own time, your own speed, because I feel if I push myself to doing things which are incredibly uncomfortable to me, or I don't like the idea of, I'm just going to resent it more. So really, I think taking the time to prepare yourself for the eventuality that is normality, which is going to happen at some point. Even though some of us have been loving lockdown and we just want to stay inside, wrap up in a blanket burrito. I know circumstances have probably changed for a lot of people, maybe because of work or something like that, but just trying to prepare for going back out again, I think is incredibly important, and it's something that I'm slowly but surely doing. But I think it's just about taking the time to prepare yourself in your mind going forward. But if you feel overwhelmed by the situation, like you've gone out like I did to get public transport and you feel overwhelmed by it, just come home, turn off, start again. Because obviously if we're going back into normality and we're going to do things again, we have to build up our tolerance for things, not just for socializing, peopling, but also sensory stuff, because we haven't been exposed to that sensory stuff for a long time, you know, such as bright lights and loud music and all of these sorts of things, which are gonna come about because things are reopening again. So I think if you find it overwhelming, firstly, don't punish yourself too much, or try not to, because, you know, you haven't done it for a long time. I'm very fearful about going out into the world again, you know, because of just peopling and socializing, just all the sensory stuff, because, you know, The world itself is not made for autistic people. I think we can all agree on that. Come away from that experience knowing where your limits are at that time and just try to build on that. And just say to yourself, I couldn't do it this time, but there's always going to be a next time. Keep trying your best to go out there and do your thing, but if you feel overwhelmed, come away, turn everything off, get in that blanket burrito, you beautiful human being. Now, next tip is to create new routines for the end of lockdown. Now, I imagine because we went into lockdown, a lot of us changed our routines from what was normal into this new lockdown life. I don't know what that was. But we all changed our routines to some degree in order to survive, to feel safe and, you know, comfortable with what we were experiencing. So I think if we are able to create in some form of new routines which are going to try and enable you to coexist with this new reality, I think is going to help immensely. Next tip, control what you can control. Now, like I said, people's attitudes to this situation I am concerned by, and I think, you know, that's a normal thing. That's what I just think. I don't know, you might completely disagree with me, but the thing is, people's attitudes towards the situation can't be controlled. You know, even if you really dislike what someone's opinion is, you can't control that person. So even though people's attitudes to the situation suck immensely, control it by firstly just doing the things that you need to do to protect yourself during the situation, and, you know, try to control your environment as much as possible, even though you want them to be safe and stuff, and I fully understand that, given that I know people who have really sucky attitudes about the situation. You can't control those people, so let them get on with it. If you know that you're doing the right thing, you're taking the right precautions, and you are doing the best that you can to control what you can control, then that's the most important thing. Next tip, build up your tolerance. Now, the reason why I went on the bus a few weeks ago, like I said at the beginning of the video, was really to build up my tolerance of people, being around people again, because I've not really been around people for a long time, not a massive group of people. If you don't do something regularly, you just fall out of practice with it. And for me, socializing with people and just being around people is the same sort of thing. So for me, I have to build up that tolerance again for just peopling, socializing, but building up that social communication again and just talk to people again, and just building up that tolerance for things, you know, I think it's just going to be really beneficial, because we are going to go back into a new sense of normality, and I think if we prepare ourselves as much as possible, it'll help us in the long run. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a big thumbs up for me down below. Check out my other videos if you're brand new to my channel and you want to see more. Stay you, stay indie, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.